All signs are pointing to this after Jalen Brunson went down with one of the scariest injuries we have seen in a long time with Knicks fans. Multiple reports have revealed the truth behind this injury and how long Jalen Brunson appears to be out for. Meanwhile, other Knicks will need to step up in Jalen Brunson's absence, and we're going to break all of this down. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Knicks Digest. It's Chris here, and we're going to jump right into things as always. Guys, if you're enjoying the content and are part of that 68% that's not subscribed to Knicks Digest, this is the place to be for all Knicks videos. You guys do not want to miss out. We're having a bunch of fun here. If you're a Knicks fan, this is the place to be. But let's jump into the video. We have a lot to talk about, guys. As we all know by now, Jalen Brunson went down with a horrifying injury against the Los Angeles Lakers in overtime last night. Obviously terrifying to see. I won't lie, at first when I saw the way Jalen Brunson moved, and I want to be very clear, I'm an optimist when it comes to injuries. I'm usually erring on the side of, I think this guy's probably going to be okay. This doesn't look as bad. Also, when you follow basketball long enough and you see an injury go down, you can kind of get a read on what it's going to be. And when Brunson went down with that injury, I initially didn't see him roll his ankle, and the way he was grabbing the back of his foot did make my stomach sink because I thought there was a chance it could have been his Achilles. However, it was not that. It was clearly that he rolled his ankle, and there's a lot of reports discussing what's the deal with Jalen Brunson's ankle. Now, diving into these, it was first reported by Chris Haynes the night that Jalen Brunson got the injury that there's optimism that New York Knicks star Jalen Brunson only sustained a sprained ankle, which is a great sign. To hear it on that night, to hear so early on that Jalen Brunson might just be dealing with an ankle sprain is absolutely huge news for New York Knicks, for the New York Knicks and the New York Knicks fans. As well, there was a lot of fear. I mean, there was a ton of people saying, oh, well, he rolled his ankle really bad. He's out for a ton of weeks. He's out for months. That was never reported. Anyone who's reporting that is wrong. Or anyone who's saying that is wrong. There's no reports that Jalen Brunson's out. There hasn't been any reports on Jalen Brunson in a general sense. That's not entirely true. There's the Chris Haynes report, and there's another report just regarding Jalen Brunson in a more general sense. But we'll dive into those in a minute. With Jalen Brunson, people are overreacting because he is who he is, and everyone needs to relax. But let's jump into some more of the news on this. Brian Suterer, phenomenal YouTuber. Go check out his channel. He's a medical doctor who's great with sports science and sports injuries. He became pretty well known in Knicks circles after Jalen Brunson went down with the drop foot last year, and he explained this injury as well, literally almost exactly a year later. And well, what he said essentially was, yeah, Jalen Brunson landed on Austin Reeves' foot, and the way he turned his ankle, he just didn't have leverage, so it really bent. And the worst case scenario here is a high ankle sprain that could keep him out for a while, or a grade 3 right ankle sprain as well, which obviously you don't want to see. A guy with phenomenal footwork like Jalen Brunson, you don't want to see him go down with ankle injuries. This is far from the first time we've seen Jalen Brunson roll his ankles, though, and it won't be the last time we'll see it. When you're an NBA player and you're constantly in the paint jumping, you're going to roll your ankles. If you play basketball enough, you're just going to start rolling your ankles sometimes. This happened to Brunson. Clearly, he was in a ton of pain, but it is important to note that he got up and walked out by himself. He didn't need help off the court. He got up and just walked off and walked back to the locker room, putting weight on that ankle, which is a good sign. That means he's not severely injured. It'd be surprising to see anything worse than that. So it all is good news on that front, that if Jalen Brunson were going to be out for a while, it would still only be some sort of ankle sprain, according to Brian Suterer, who said, essentially, yeah, it could be 2 to 3 months if it was a grade 3 sprain that could require surgery, but it's hard to believe it's that for a guy who just walked off the court. Suterer said it could be anywhere from a few days to a few months, but likely, with all the reports that Brunson just got away with an ankle sprain, according to Chris Haynes, that probably doesn't mean a grade 3 ankle sprain where he's going to be out for months. And I don't think Jalen Brunson is going to be out for months. I think people are overreacting because who he is. People roll their ankles like this very often, and very often in 2 weeks, they're back on the court. People are freaking out because it's Jalen Brunson, and it's understandable. He's the best player the Knicks have had in he's the best player of the 2000s for the Knicks. I mean, putting up this season 26 points per game, 3 rebounds, 7.5 assists, shooting 49% from the field and 38% from 3, with 42% on corner threes. Jalen Brunson's been nothing short of phenomenal. He's one of the top 10 players in the NBA. He's going to win Clutch Player of the Year if he qualifies for enough games. It's all obvious that Jalen Brunson is basketball's most clutch player this season and just one of basketball's best players this season. As always, in the topic of conversation for one of the best point guards in the NBA, it is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but Brunson's right there as well, which is important to note. Brunson is the best player in the New York Knicks. He's the engine that makes them go, and without him, there is going to be a lot of concern with what happens next. And Tom Thibodeau spoke on Brunson getting up, shooting those free throws after rolling his ankle, and saying his mental toughness is through the roof. It doesn't surprise me the way he played the whole game. He still keeps battling, and on top of that, we saw Josh Hart say it's a bummer of an injury. We expect him to be out for a little bit. Look, if Brunson was severely hurt, we would know it by the energy around the locker room and the way that the players and team are talking about him. I said this on a previous video. Josh Hart is effectively the secondary captain of the Knicks. Brunson's the captain, and in hockey, you have the captain, you have the guy with the assistant captain with the A on their jersey. That would be Josh Hart. He's essentially the second in command when it comes to being the captain of the Knicks. And, well, Josh would have probably said something a lot more scary if they thought that it was going to be some serious injury. It probably wouldn't be. He's going to be out for a little bit. He probably would have given more insight, as Josh Hart is not one to hold his cards too close to the vest here. On top of that, Tom Thibodeau probably would have said something a lot more emotional about Jalen Brunson. I mean, this is standard stuff that Tibbs says about Brunson. We know he loves him. It would probably be a way more emotional room if Jalen Brunson did go down with a more serious injury, and I don't think people are realizing that. There would be a lot more coming out already. Now, there's a lot of silence right now in the New York Knicks circles. No one's really reported on anything because the Knicks are hiding things very closely. Also, on top of that, it's very likely that Jalen Brunson did not get an X-ray or an MRI last night in LA at 10 p.m. It's more likely they decided to ice it for the night, and now today he's going to go through the tests. He's going to get X-rayed. He's going to get an MRI. They're going to see the damage to ligaments. They're going to see any structural damage when it comes to bones and all that, for checking for potential fractures and checking for any torn ligaments or anything like that. That'll be happening today, so we will get an update today on Jalen Brunson's injury. I will report on it instantly, so make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. This is not the end of the video, though. Just wanted to remind you guys. On top of that, the New York Knicks now enter themselves in a very interesting position to go without their engine for the first time this season without Jalen Brunson. Now, we all know that he could be out for somewhere between a few weeks and a few months, erring on the side of a few weeks for sure. On top of that, you look at a guy like Mikal Bridges, who's put up 12.7 points per game in his last 10 games. He's going to have to be so much better now without Jalen Brunson there. And Mikal's better when he's in that first or second scoring, or really that second scoring option role this season with the Knicks. He's going to have to be one of the huge guys who steps up for this New York Knicks team. But it doesn't end with him. It's going to have to be multiple different players that are going to have to step up. Specifically, these three players shown right here, as it's just very important. You take a look at the Knicks' second best player, now the guy who was the best player at the start of the season as well, Karl-Anthony Towns, who puts up 24 points, 13 rebounds, 3 assists per game with 1 steal as well, shooting 42% from 3 and 52% from the field. The man's been phenomenal all season long. He'd be in more MVP conversations had he not just sort of not even flamed out, had he just not been overtaken by Jalen Brunson's greatness, and also the fact that Nikola Jokic is doing Nikola Jokic things, and also Deuce McBride, who will be the Knicks' starting point guard going forwards until Brunson's fully healthy, who's putting up 9 points this season, along with 2.5 rebounds and 2.5 assists, with 1 steal per game. He's an excellent on-ball defender, good shooter as well, good in the corner three, shooting 38% from there. Deuce is very solid. The thing is, the Knicks don't have a clear playmaker without Jalen Brunson. It's been the problem all season. And there is a guy who is going to get some minutes, who is a great playmaker as well. That video will come out very soon. I'm going to make that video next. We have a bunch of good content for you coming this weekend. Obviously, anything regarding Jalen Brunson will be out. Any new news, it'll be out within the hour of it coming out. So make sure you guys are subscribed. I'll be right there waiting to give you guys an update. Guys, let me know what you think down below. Do you think Brunson's out for a while? Do you not? I'll be honest, it's not just me being optimistic, and I am an optimistic fan. I don't think it's a severe injury. I really don't. I think he sprained his ankle. I truly, truly believe that he sprained his ankle. I know he looked like he was in pain. Guess what? He was. You ever sprained your ankle? You're watching a basketball channel, so you probably play a good amount of basketball. You ever sprained your ankle? That sucks. It hurts a lot. Hurts way more than the severity of it. Dude, I fractured my ankle, and that sucked. I rolled it, and I fractured it. I was good in 5 weeks, and I don't have the NBA resources at my hands, and I'm not Jalen Brunson having the anatomy of a professional athlete. I'm just some guy who's sitting in a very comfy chair right now, talking into a red microphone on YouTube with the MSG background behind me because of a green screen. And I was able to play basketball 5 weeks after fracturing my ankle. So even if Brunson, even if you hear the word fracture, it doesn't mean the end of the world. It's not a stress fracture. It could be a lighter fracture. With the way he rolled his ankle, it wouldn't be anything too severe. I truly believe Jalen Brunson will be back in March. I imagine it'll be sooner than just March also. I don't think it's the end of March. I think Jalen Brunson will be back in like 2 weeks, if I'm being honest. That's my expectation on what's going to happen with Jalen Brunson. On top of that, you're going to have to see Karl-Anthony Towns, Deuce McBride, and a few other guys report and just sort of get a real, step up to their game. They're going to have to show up, and they're going to have to work because, look, they're going to play the Clippers tonight. It's a tough matchup for sure. The Clippers have been solid. James Harden's balling out. Mikhail's going to have to play really good defense on him. There's going to have to be a lot that goes down. Mikhail's going to have to be more aggressive on offense. I'm going to do a full video on Mikhail and another player and just them being sort of under fire from Knicks fans recently for some struggles, especially on offense. So stay tuned for that video as well. A lot of good content coming your guys' way. So make sure to subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out a ton. I'm on that grind, man. Every day I'm making these Knicks videos. I'm also making videos on Yankees Digest and Jets Digest. Make sure to check those out. UFC Digest is a thing, but I don't have any co-creators yet, and that's a channel that needs a few to work. So I'm waiting for that. We're hiring some guys as we speak. On top of that, guys, we're also now available on Spotify. So go ahead and look up Knicks Digest on Spotify. Feel free to support us there. Support us on YouTube. Do whatever makes your heart happy. Watch us on YouTube more. It makes me more money. I'm going to be honest. Guys, have a great day. Go Knicks. I'll be back with all Jalen Brunson updates very soon.